All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Welcome back to the Loose Wheel Podcast Season 2, Episode 1. Overall, episode number 11. But we're not going to keep track of that this year because I don't feel like it. I don't know how Ethan feels.
Great reasoning, as always.
But, yeah. We're doing some new stuff this year, as you can tell by our new intro, which at this point we don't know what that is, but you're going to hear it by tomorrow. So, yeah, do you just want to get right into the news, Ethan, or do you want to say anything first?
Well, might as well explain this episode. Obviously, there's no real racing going on right now. There are some series that are going
Dakar
on.
Rally.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dakar Asian Le Mans Series. Sorry, Formula E. Sorry.
So, the series that we mostly cover aren't really running right now.
So the series that matter.
So instead, we're just going to go through some news that has happened over our break in between the end of Season 1 and now here at the start of Season 2. There has actually been a lot of news in all the series that we cover. Of course, some have more news than others, but we are going to go through
most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah, we're going to go through all the big news stories, and we're going to have it segmented into chunks by that racing series, so easier for you to just jump around if you only want to listen to a specific part. And now for the news. So, you want to start it off, Andrew, with the IndyCar news?
Yeah. So, IndyCar, this was kind of a two-parter of the same. It was a cause and a possible, hopefully not effect. IndyCar confirms postponement of the hybrid debut until after the Indy 500, and Honda weighing IndyCar exit after 2026 unless costs are reduced. So the first bit of the news, they were originally supposed to race these things in 2022 with a new 2.2 liter engine, and then now we're going to move it back to the 2.4 engine and then race these things in 2023. And then we're going to delay it even more to 2024. And now they have delayed it until after the Indy 500. I think right now, as it stands, push it back till 2025. Because to me, I don't want to be starting something in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That doesn't really seem like a recipe for success. It's also just like makes the year a mixture of two different things. It could make the year very exciting, as the second part of the year could be very different from the first half of the season, but I don't think that that's a good enough reason to implement something so drastic in the middle of an ongoing season. You need to do it at the start of the year so teams can get used to it and have an entire year getting used to it instead of just plopping it in the middle of the season. So I delaying it till after the Indy 500 is fine. If it needs to be delayed, delay it, but then just delay it the entire season.
Yeah. I guess the reasoning for not having it delayed to the end of the season so far is that they don't want to have it. They want to get it out as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think they should delay it. I think it will be delayed. I'm saying it now. I just think that's going to how it's going to go. And only 4 of the 10 teams have gotten to test these these new hybrid systems.
Which isn't fair.
It isn't fair. You need a good amount of testing at all your different types of tracks. You got even the differences in ovals. You've got Gateway, Iowa, Milwaukee, all short ovals. And then you got Indianapolis, which is a different breed of oval, high-speed super speedway, compared to the short track. Still fast speed, but quick It's a lot quicker racing. That's how I'd describe it. It's slower, but everything happens much quicker than super speedway racing. And then you've got your road courses, and then you've got your street courses. So you have to be able to do testing on all types of tracks to have it work well.
Yeah.
And I think the only oval they've tested this on is Indianapolis. I know they've tested it there. I think they've probably tested it at Sebring, which is technically a road course, but it races more like a street course because of how bumpy it is. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. And then with Honda weighing an IndyCar exit after 2026 unless costs are reduced, I don't know what they want exactly. They obviously want costs reduced, but how is it going to happen? Is it going to be a new engine, a new chassis? Because this is something I've been seeing a lot, and I think it's over talked about, but we haven't talked about it yet, is that the Dan Weldon 12 chassis was introduced in 2012 or 2013, whatever the year after. I think it was 2012 because it was after Dan Weldon's tragic passing. And so it's old, and it's now old enough to compete in historic racing series. And a lot of people are mad about that. I'm not so mad about that because I want something to, as long as it works for what you have, keep it. I don't see a reason for a change unless you're way behind technologically, which in IndyCar is. I don't think we should be changing it for the sake of change like some people are suggesting. I want to change it to have a car that's better suited for the aero screen, which was not something the current car was based on. So and other things like that. So I would like to see it, but it's not. If we need to keep it for Honda to stay in the series, I want that. And if Honda leaves and we have no one else coming in to take that, I think we're going to see a huge decrease in car count because I don't think Chevy can handle 27 entries full season. Honda did in the past. Honda was the only manufacturer for a little bit, and Chevy came back in. I do think you need around 5 or so. That would be the ideal amount of engine manufacturers because where we're at right now with 2, we have too few because teams are struggling to get engines. I would like that to not be an issue. So if we got, say, a Ford or Ferrari or Porsche, who have all been linked to IndyCar fairly recently, but they've all backed out, it would be huge for the series.
I agree.
And it would put less weight on Chevy and Honda because you might expand a few entries to maybe, let's call it 31 full-time entries. Now, instead of having 15 entries per engine manufacturer, now you have 10.
Yeah. It also makes the series, just more unpredictable. Mm-hmm. There's more engines, more or just greater differences between the cars, really. It would definitely be interesting. So I hope that we get more engines, and of course hope that Honda doesn't leave.
Yep. And for the next part of the IndyCar news, there's this kind of a 3-parter here. Stingray Robb moves to Foyt team in 2024.
Yep, replacing
Benjamin Peterson, who lays claim to the Foyt IndyCar seat after Robb signing because he did have a 2-year deal apparently. And then Foyt completes its 24 IndyCar line with the legend Santino Ferrucci.
Who, if you watched our award episode, which was the last episode of Season 1, you would know that Santino Ferrucci is an inaugural winner of a Nigel award.
Yes.
You should definitely go and listen to that
Yeah,
episode
yes.
if you haven't already.
Definitely do listen to that, but it was an interesting series of events. First of all, I do like the move for Foyt keeping Ferrucci. He had a good season last year, was strong at the Indy 500, which is the race AJ Foyt cares about most. And he's old, he doesn't come to many races, but he comes to the Indy 500. They ran well last year. And Santino Ferrucci is, as much as I don't like the guy, he's great at the Indy 500.
Yeah.
I will say that.
He's got some talent.
Yeah.
At least some.
Yeah. And with Rob moving to Foyt, I think that's an upgrade for him because I do think Foyt is going to be on the up this year because of the alliance with Team Penske. I think they're going to be better suited to racing in 2024 than they were in 2023. So I think it's an upgrade for him. I think it's an upgrade for AJ Foyt Racing because Benjamin Peterson, he was not great last year.
Yeah.
I think he finished last of full-time drivers.
This move puts him out of the series.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a seat going into next year. And like you said, he lays claim to that seat. I mean, he can lay claim all he wants. He is not going to be racing for AJ Foyt next year.
Yeah, Foyt could. I think
upcoming year, I should say.
Foyt still has to pay him because that's how money works. But
How contracts work. Yeah.
I do. Apparently I've not seen this to be true, but he didn't. The budget he didn't bring did not bring crash claw. Did not have to pay for crash damage, which with Ben Peterson, he had a bit of crash damage last year. So I think it's an upgrade for everyone not named Benjamin Peterson, which I do think the guy deserved a second chance or second season to see if he can take a step.
Yeah, we've
forward.
talked about it
Yeah.
before. It's how we feel about like drivers getting replaced after only one season. It is unfortunate because you feel like with another season they could get more comfortable and take a big step. But if you crash often, if you don't give the team the results they expect when you don't crash, you're putting yourself in a position where the team has to make a business decision.
Yeah.
And that is what happened with Benjamin Peterson. It's unfortunate for him, but that's just how it works. I mean, motor racing, it's a sport, but it's also, it's a business like all sports, and it's unfair like all sports. If you don't perform, you're going to get replaced. So we'll see where he goes after this, but probably away from IndyCar.
Yeah. There's a chance he goes to Dale Coyne Racing, which is the only team that hasn't formalized any plan for next year, or that's the only team that has seats open. Yeah. So they've got both their seats open. Who knows? He could go there, but I don't think he will.
Yeah. Argentina, which is expected or has been expected to host an IndyCar race. That race could now be delayed to 2025 due to the new president. And I don't know, whenever I hear something like that, like, oh, it's being delayed because of like a political issue, it just makes me think that race is never going to happen.
I think it might happen because there's a lot of race fans and a lot of people want to see it happen down there. Look at Why not have it
this year then?
Ricardo. Hold on, let me finish my thought. Look at owner Ricardo Juncos and Agustin Canapino. They have a huge amount of support.
Yeah, for sure.
But I saw with that, the new president, he just wanted to move or like spend different things on the economy. That's the rumor. And regardless if there wasn't a new president, IndyCar still might not have done it because they hadn't confirmed anything yet. So I do think this race will happen in 2025, maybe as an exhibition race, maybe not, or maybe even this year. Yeah. But I do think it will happen. And say it is that off-season, the quote-unquote October off-season exhibition race, that would be a great time to bring in the hybrids.
Yeah,
Just saying.
that's a good point, and that'd definitely be cool. I mean, I would be really interested in seeing that race. Hopefully it does happen, but yeah, probably not this year. Moving on.
Yeah.
IndyCar is developing a charter system. I assume that would be similar to NASCAR's charter system.
It would be.
Andrew?
I believe it'd be similar to NASCAR's. I don't want to see this happen because they wouldn't do it correctly, and I'd rather have it not done correctly than done incorrectly. And here's what I think they would do is have, I don't know, maybe 30 cars guaranteed for every race, and leave 3 open. However, I think what they should do is take 30 cars or whatever the number is. I'm just throwing 30 out there of cars guaranteed into each race, not named the Indy 500, and then no one's locked into the 500. Because one of the traditions at the Indy 500, and that I've liked, a lot of other fans have liked, is bump day. And the fact that anyone can go home. You looked at Graham Rahal, he got bumped last year before Steph Wilson got injured and they came and called him back in. That was a huge storyline because Graham Rahal, the guy who had missed a race in who knows how long, a very long time, would be missing a race. I think that's part of the storyline. And when you take, say, that part out, that there's a lot less interest there. Although he wasn't full time, it was a huge story a couple of years ago in 2019 when Formula One champion and Le Mans champion Fernando Alonso got knocked out because his car was not fast enough. That's why I think it should be for the Indy 500. As a whole, I'm not really, and I'm not a fan of the charter system in NASCAR or IndyCar, but I wouldn't mind it in like a format that guarantees 30 cars into every race.
Yeah.
But I will say I do want to have like open cars. So if Ed Carpenter decides to give us the not Oliver Askew, but whoever's driving the 20 this year, I can't think, back the other oval races and move to his third full-time part-time car again, that should be able to happen. It's not Ryan Hunter-Reay, it's the Indy Lights champion. I can't think of his name right now. It's the Danish guy, Rasmussen, Christian Rasmussen. But yeah, I that's how I think it should be. Moving on, we've got 3. Do you have anything to say about that, Ethan? Before I move on, he's shaking his head no because I know
I don't understand how the charter system works.
That shows you if you're listening to this as an executive in some series or another, don't do that. So you've got 3 teams that are looking to possibly go full-time in 2025. Able Motorsports, Prema, and Pratt Miller Engineering. Able Motorsports coming through the leagues of Indy Lights and the Indy Feeder Series. I know it's not Indy Lights anymore. I think it still should called that.
Indy
Fight
Next.
Me. NXT. It's not even next. The next drop the E. I don't, because that's what's next, I guess. I don't know. But Able Motorsports, they're going to be going in the Indy 500 again with R.C. Enerson. I do expect Jacob Able to be full-time in 2025 next year. 2025 is next year. That's weird to me.
I know.
But yeah. You've got that. I do think of all the 3 teams, they're the best and most likely to happen because just of their success in America already.
Yeah.
In the American open wheel scene. Pratt Miller Engineering, they're the people that have worked with Corvette over the years, building and designing their car. Ethan's gesturing to me.
No, just talk.
Yeah, I know. But I'm doing this in this order for a reason.
You don't have to commentate the behind the scenes. They're not supposed to know, Andrew. You guys need to forget the past 20 seconds.
Yeah, disregard that. But Pratt Miller Engineering, they're the team that's now fielding Corvettes in IMSA, and no, they're not doing WEC. I almost said they were, but I remembered that's TF Sport. But that Pratt Miller working with Corvette for a long time. I think it's fairly safe to assume they'd be Chevy engines because of their long-standing relationship with Corvette.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet, but I'd like to see it happen. Will it happen? I don't know. But of these three teams, I do think they'd be the next most likely to happen because just because, again, they're in America. They're not in the open wheel scene, but they are doing stuff in America and they have ties to.
They have relations.
An engine manufacturer. And Ethan, you can talk about the Prema.
Okay. Well, of course, Prema is one of, if not the premier teams over in the European junior categories. If you are a junior driver trying to make your way up to F1, there's a lot of year-to-year changes with teams, but Prema is always a safe bet. Prema is almost always where you want to be, and they've toyed with entering F1. I doubt that ever happens, but it makes sense that they would also try and join IndyCar. I agree with what you said, Andrew, about how Abel is probably most likely, Pratt Miller second, and Prema third, because it would be a hard transition, I would think. They are doing open wheel stuff. They are successful in open wheel stuff, but it's not IndyCar. They probably have the best resources out of the three, but they're just doing something different.
Yeah.
So I can't really see them joining IndyCar. It'd be really cool. But I think that they are more toying with the idea, whereas Pratt Miller and Abel are strongly considering. I have no reason to say that except just like feeling about what Prema would do. Maybe they are super serious and they do join IndyCar, and that'd be really cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. They're probably the least likely out of these three.
Yeah, a couple things to note on Prema is that they are working with Iron Lynx in Lamborghini in the hypercar fields this year that they're starting with, and they've done LMP2 work in WEC in the past. So they are a really good team, but like you said, in terms of how strong they are right now, in terms of what they have done in the past with their teams, they are the best team of the three. But like you said, Ethan, coming over from Europe to America, I think that's just a hard transition.
Definitely.
I'd like to see them try. I'd love to see them try. But yeah, I think a more likely route for them is buying a team. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see.
I don't know if they would do that, but yeah, maybe.
All
anyway, moving on to F1 now. Everyone's favorite team principal, Gunther Steiner, is out at Haas. Moment of silence. I think that Netflix is in shambles right now.
Yeah.
Because Drive to Survive is not going to be the same without Steiner. But I mean, that's the least impactful thing of this move, of course. Gene Haas, did he make the right move? I don't know. I don't think Steiner is the best team principal by any means, But Gene Haas isn't exactly giving him the best opportunity to succeed. So it's hard to say. It's unfortunate. But he is leaving Haas, and he is going to be taking a step back from F1. He's not going to be joining another team, at least not immediately, according to reports that have circulated. His predecessor now.
Oh, well, or successor.
Successor,
yeah.
sorry.
But before you do go on with that, I've seen his name along with another former team principal, Otmar Szafnauer.
Otmar Szafnauer.
Whatever. Linked in Andretti as a possibility.
Yeah. But that would be a few years down the line anyway. So, yeah. Gunther Steiner's going to be out of F1 for a while. I'm sure he could find another job pretty easily. But yeah, that's just what the reports have been saying. So, Ao Komatsu, I believe is how you pronounce this man's name. He is the new team principal for Haas. He was previously the trackside engineering director, so he's an internal promotion from Haas. He's previously worked with Renault. He was a tire engineer for British American Racing all the way back in 2003. That's where he started his career in F1. So he's been around the paddock. He knows what he's doing. Will he succeed? Well, probably not, because Gene Haas doesn't give the F1 team what they need to succeed. But best of luck to him, really, because he's taking over a hard position.
Yeah, I do. I think it's the right move for Haas. I think Steiner built. In his first couple of years, he built a good team.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Because they were working on a few years before. After Red Bull decided to shut down their NASCAR team, which was where Steiner was working before Haas F1. And on a funny note, sources: Netflix is beside themselves, driving themselves around downtown Monaco, begging through text Haas's family for address to Steiner's home.
What?
This have you never seen this copy pasta?
No.
You have not. Well, Ethan, you're the fraud of the week.
I'm sorry, I'm not on Reddit.
This is not. I've seen it on YouTube, Instagram.
Okay, just to be clear, that is not actual sources.
Yes, the sources are absolutely no one.
Fraudulent sources.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a joke, and the people that listen to the podcast are very knowledgeable on meme culture and copy pastas and would understand that. If you're in the comments section, or if you're watching at this point, or listening, or consuming, let us know in the comments section if you know what that's the copy pasta. But moving on.
Anyway, the FIA has ended their investigation into Toto and Susie Wolff as blowback ensues. Andrew, you wrote that. You get to take it away.
Yeah, we talked about that on the last podcast before the awards show. But yeah, it made sense because all the teams went and publicly said, "Oh, we weren't the one that requested it," but someone did. So the FIA said, "Okay, if you guys don't want it to happen anymore, we won't investigate it anymore." So that's basically what happened there. So yeah.
Yeah, short story. The investigation is over, so no harm, no foul. Just annoyance for Toto and Susie Wolf, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But nothing came from that investigation. And when we talked about it when it first got announced, I think we both kind of said, like, what is the FIA doing?
Yeah.
Nothing, apparently.
Well,
So, yeah, minor story there. A bigger story is that Alfa Romeo has officially left their partnership, or at least the naming right deal. Wasn't ever really a technical partnership, but they are no longer the title sponsor of Sauber F1 Team, and Sauber F1 Team will not be called Sauber F1 Team as
We
they
can't have
await
nice things.
as we await for Audi to join F1. In the meantime, Sauber will be referred to as Stake F1 Team, which is for sure one of the weirder names we've had in F1 over the years, which is saying a lot, as a quick Google search will show you F1 has had some pretty wacky team names in the past. Its its official name is Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber. It will be referred to as Stake F1 Team, or just Stake F1. But again, the official name, Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber. Andrew, I know that this is your new favorite F1 team name, so you can tell us more about your thoughts, really.
I still say Racing Point clears, but of the active ones, I originally was gonna they don't deserve the name Steak. They are not fast enough to become like steak, so they're really more like pork. And I decided to call them Kick F1 Team because that would be that would be funnier, but they don't. The real ones will just call it Sauber. Moving on.
Well, no. We have to at least explain what Stake is to people that don't know.
Stake.com.
So Stake.com is, according to Wikipedia, an Australian Curaçaoan online casino. So your Swiss F1 team, powered by an Italian engine, is now sponsored by an Australian Curaçaoan online casino. Formula One, truly the most global of sports.
With a Chinese and Finnish driver.
Yes.
Peter Sauer is now Mr. Worldwide, replacing that title of Gene Haas. So, shall we move on for real this time?
Sure.
Williams extends Mercedes power unit deal through 2030. Ethan, you know more about power units than I do. Explain this.
Yeah, it just makes sense. There's no reason to change it. Williams has kind of tried to say that they're going to distance themselves from Mercedes in recent years, but they've taken a Mercedes employee and stuck him as team principal. And
which I thought was a good move.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely is a good move. It's the right move, for sure, as is the Mercedes power unit still. They've had the Mercedes power unit for years now. There's no point in changing it.
If it's broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Or if it isn't broke, don't
Yeah.
fix it. If it is broke, fix it.
If it is broke, do fix it.
See
But
the elevators in our building.
Right. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is they have a long-standing relationship with Mercedes. Williams isn't a team that has ever made its own engines. They've always got engines from someone else. The Mercedes engines have been in the car since 2014, so a decade now. Like we mentioned earlier, James Vowles, new team principal for Williams. James Vowles isn't related to, or he doesn't have connections to Mercedes anymore, but it just shows the closeness between the teams is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Williams needs Mercedes. So in Mercedes is going to sell Williams their engine. It's a good deal for both teams.
Yeah, I don't.
And
You can't have an issue with this relationship
No.
because of
this deal
the
will
Red
go-
Bull, Alpha Toro Rosso Racing Bulls, whatever you want to call
This
it.
is a way less
existing.
close relationship.
Yeah.
You can't even really call it a relationship to that level anymore, or ever. But yeah, the power unit deal extends through the next power unit regulations. So if Mercedes comes out of those with an amazing engine and power unit, that's great for Williams. If they don't, they're stuck with a subpar unit, but you have to think the Mercedes will do
Yeah.
a good job. Moving on, though, to another Mercedes-powered team, McLaren, out of almost nowhere, has revealed their 2024 livery on social media today after deleting all their posts on Instagram, etc., to get ready for this launch. Their new slogan, which is the first thing that they kind of revealed out of this new rebrand, is "Whatever it takes." So
Can you imagine dragons?
No, don't. But you have to think that obviously means that they're going to place snipers around the tracks to shoot at the tires of Max Verstappen and allow Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri to win every single race next season. Silliness aside, though.
All in all, Gate 2.0.
yeah, exactly. Jokes aside, though, McLaren's new livery is a continuation, in a way, of the previous liveries, black and orange, but that blue is gone. Thank you. It looks a lot better now.
It does.
And everyone loves the chrome McLarens. It's not chrome, but the numbers do appear to be chrome, so everyone's happy.
Yeah, I will say
Mostly.
I did call this on Twitter. If you saw, I did some seeing of things in the IndyCar side for Content Day. I saw a new font, so I said, I saw a new pattern on the suit, which was similar to, I don't know if you guys remember, the Monaco pattern, or at least the front of it had the I don't know what this shape is called, Ethan. Like the triangle, but it wasn't it was a V, an upside down V.
What?
They had the upside down V on their Monaco car. I'm showing Ethan right now but yeah. They did have that, and they have that again this year. So yeah, I did call it on Twitter, so yeah. Again, follow the Twitter. It's literally my name, I think. So yeah. Yeah, this was what I'm talking about. Come on. No, not that. Like this. How it's like this, Ethan? Has that?
Yeah, I think that's just called a V, I think.
Yeah, a V, I guess. Yeah, and then McLaren 2024. It has... Get rid of the word Monaco, because... Yeah, it has that V kind of... And it's in a different position, but yeah, it's the same shape.
No, I see what you mean.
I did, like I said, I did kind of call it on Twitter. But yeah, it's a good livery. The numbers... This might be a hot take, but I might before I see this on the track, but in the rendering, the numbers don't look good to me. The font spat and the color doesn't look good. It doesn't look good because you get two different kind of grays on the car, because that isn't a real black. That looks more like gray.
Well,
to me.
it's just exposed carbon.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's just carbon.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think it's just the lighting, Andrew.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, we'll see on track, but I think at the very least it's a big improvement over the previous year. It's a lot simpler of a design. It just looks better, really.
Yeah. The last two are really not F1 news, but they're kind of everything news, but I just put them in there.
F1 adjacent.
Well,
I suppose.
Honda Performance, HPD, whatever the Honda Performance Development, I think it might be developed, formalizes rebranding to Honda Racing Company US. I don't know what, but it was HPD formalizes rebranding to HRC US. Nothing really there, just rebranding. Do you have anything to say about this, Ethan? But yeah, that's just something to look out for. And the Pitt F1 movie expected to be continue filming in IMSA, which is a choice. I don't know if that's part of the movie, but yeah, it's interesting. Do you have any thoughts, Ethan?
I'm just wondering if this Pitt F1 movie will ever be finished, or yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. We are going to shift gears a little bit here. We're going to talk about some of the other racing series. Because we don't have time for NASCAR, and we'll talk about sports cars
Next
episode of the Rolex 24 happening that weekend. You have SRX postpones fourth season. Apparently the word on that is because Camping World pulled out, which is unfortunate, but I like that series. It introduced me to a lot of things. Introduced me a lot to short track racing, local short track racing. It introduced me to the nuisance of Paul Tracy. Showed off the great personalities of Paul Tracy, Willie T. Ribbs, among others. Introduced a lot of the local ringers to to a more national audience, and it introduced two possibly young stars of the future, Ernie Francis Jr. and Luke Fenhaus, to the world. So those are some goods that I took from it. You could kind of tell it was getting worse and worse with the quality of racing every year. You had this last year, no local guy racing. You had a lot more wrecks. Paul Tracy getting suspended from the series. It took a noticeable step backwards from what it was. And no one's surprised by this, but yeah, it was very out of the blue and unfortunate for them. Ethan, do you have any thoughts? Yeah, he does not have any thoughts. Ray Evernham, one of the founders of SRX, who left SRX, and Rob Kaufman, set to revive the legendary IROC brand in 2024, which SRX was not a revival, but kind of a modern version of IROC, and now that IROC is coming back. This was announced not too long before that. There's supposed to be one race with old IROC cars this year. They're not going to expand more than that. So that would be cool to see some old cars race. I think that would be cool.
Big shout out to the IROC Camaro that everyone hates.
Really? I don't. There were going to be racing stuff from apparently the 70s, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, you saying that reminded me of that.
And then Formula E confirms the Hyderabad E-Prix cancellation. That, I believe, is in South Africa, I think. Oh, it's in India. I don't know why I thought South Africa, but yeah. It's unfortunate that they have to cancel a race. And they have confirmed, but this was before this, Formula E confirms Misano doubleheader for 2024. Nice for them to expand to new market. But yeah. Anything on those, Ethan?
Well, I mean, you take away the Hyderabad race, and you replaced it with Misano. So it's an expansion in a way, but you're also getting
Misano was supposed to be replacing Rome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's just changing things in and out. Like, the series isn't exactly
stable,
growing. It's just moving. It's moving, but it's moving laterally.
Yeah.
So it's... I would like to see the series gain some stability. I mean, I'm not a Formula E fan by any means, but like it would just be nice to see something like this. If it's gonna exist, at least let it be stable.
Yeah.
We've seen, we didn't really mention this in the news because it's kind of not super big, but I believe he's the president of Formula E. He's been trying to get Sergio Perez to join the series for the 2025 season. I feel like a big move like that could honestly do more for the series than any race would. But purely on what tracks they race at, yeah, let's get some stability. Because if the series is going to exist, let it be stable.
Yeah. All right, so that was episode 1. We've got no picks to make this week because there's no racing.
A little bit of a clunky episode, I will admit, but let us get back into the swing of things.
We got a lot of news off. But next time, I can promise you, we'll talk about all the breaking news from your IndyCar, F1, other series, if there are other series, but. We'll talk about all the sports car news that has happened that we've noted, and all the NASCAR news that has happened as well. I don't have anything else to say. We might have a guest, we might not. We'll see about that.
To be determined. It's game time decision.
We'll see, but we will have guests at some point this year. I can promise you that. And shall we let them hear the outro for this time? Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe. This might be on Apple Music or not Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Spotify. We're gonna try to get on there by the end of this sooner rather than later.
At least by the first quote unquote real podcast where we're talking about a race preview, making picks and all that. At least by that point, we will be on multiple platforms. We'll be related to Blaze Radio, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So, good stuff in the future. But
we've got the Rolex 24 next week. We're gonna be making picks for that. So
yeah. Okay. So by next week, then we will.
That's a bold prediction. I'm not. Well, hopefully we'll be next week, but sometime soon.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
And here's the new outro.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.